recording. All right. John, how's it going?
Yeah, all doing very well, thank you. Good to be on a community call after we were at least 1 week late with the last one. I was in Dubai, I think, which might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, definitely. We would not want to overwork you. So, I already have visibility on the hours you're putting in. So, adding something on a Sunday after you've been traveling extensively, probably not the best idea. But here we are again.
Yeah. I mean, I was working in Dubai, but I was it was there was quite a lot of traveling. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, thankfully, I hope you managed to skirt the inclement weather that they had during Token 2049 because that was an absolute disaster. I remember seeing people on Twitter posting about how they would give like half a Bitcoin to whoever would be willing to like basically bring a canoe to the airport and get them to their hotel. So glad you didn't have
I
to do
saw
that.
that on the news. I completely forgotten about that, to be honest. It was almost unbelievable that it could be raining there when I was there this time because it was so hot, but peak conditions, as I
And
understand.
it's fake rain too, apparently, because they have
Ah,
some. I don't know if you're aware. They basically, my understanding is in Dubai, they generate clouds essentially to ensure that they get a
oh,
certain amount of rainfall. So it was synthetic rain, mind you, that was causing all of that, which was
that's
quite
amazing.
hilarious.
Like, and it's some kind of they overdid it. Fascinating.
Yeah, it brought to mind
I
like
didn't
all
know.
the different conspiracy theories that people have drummed up over the years about the ways in which the U.S. government is engaging in, I don't know, weather-based warfare, uh, and for that reason, it was very funny to me. Although that's
Yeah.
certainly not what's happening there. All right, but it's been a while. We definitely have some updates on what's been going on with the protocol. John, if you want to start by giving us a general update of what's been going on behind the scenes, that would be fantastic, just to bring everyone up to speed.
Yeah, so it's hard to give a. I mean, I can try and give an overview. There's been lots of things going on. I mean,
Sure.
we've been sort of traveling and speaking to many people. Unfortunately, the Dubai event was a so-called Chatham House rules. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this, but what it means is that you're not allowed to say who was there. You're not allowed to say kind of make any recordings. We really wanted to. I was on a panel there, in fact, which we wanted to record and put out, but we weren't allowed because it was had this sort of secrecy policy. But I guess that all I can tell people is you have to take my word for it is that there were some very influential people at the meeting, and the panel was the best panel um, according to that my colleague who was there at the time, Longvol. Indeed. So we can all take heart that that was the case. But I was a bit. I only found out really late that we wouldn't be able to sort of record it and share it with everybody else. So that was just a bit of a disappointment. It
Some
was,
of
and by the way, the subject of the panel was sort of future kind of new use cases for decentralization and blockchain. So very interesting subject.
Yeah, certainly. It sounds something like the Bilderberg meeting for crypto. If we're not allowed to talk about who
It
was
could have
there.
been, well, the people who were attending would have probably were at Bilderberg, except for me, obviously, and a few others. But maybe we'll be invited next year. I'm not sure why we were invited to this one, but this really was a very, yeah, it was. You couldn't get bigger in crypto, let's say.
Hmm. Yeah, well, probably the first thing that I'd like to go over is where we're at with Pod, as that's something that a lot of people, both in DMs and in the Discord, have been asking about. That's definitely, at least in my mind, the update to the protocol that the most people are looking forward to. So I wanted to pick your brain about where we are with that, and if we could get some kind of idea of when it'll be coming. I'm sure people would be excited to hear that.
Yeah, so pod proof of deposit will be coming very soon. It is in testing, sort of final stages of testing, I would say. Um, It is, as probably anybody who's looked into it or heard me talk about it on previous community calls, it is a very sort of elegant mechanism. It's really essentially that somebody who was a miner and providing a certain percentage of compute would look to have a certain percentage of deposits, either held by themselves or delegated to them, in order to sort of mine most efficiently. And this is really kind of the best from a technical point of view. The kind of headline effect that this has is an increase in security. So it's is that if you've got some kind of large deposits, as a kind of a miner, somebody who's giving compute, it really just means you have sort of more skin in the game. And also, nobody will want to delegate their deposit to you if they think that typically if you're doing something which is sort of messing with the protocol, of course that would tend to sort of push the price of the token down. And so sort of just token holders do have more agency in terms of them sort of acting in order to shore up the protocol and make sure that things are happening which they approve of. So it's altogether a sort of very positive thing. Of course, it's a kind of a funny thing. People sort of have compared it to a sort of proof of stake, proof of work hybrid. I personally wouldn't really look at it like that. One of the reasons why proof of stake and proof of work hybrids didn't really, haven't really happened very much is because it's almost like people were 100% proof of work, and then when they figured out proof of stake, they just switched to 100% proof of stake. So this is a bit of a funny one. This is really why you didn't have this system, deployed in the wild. It's not that common. But in our case, of course, like the innovation game is really about proof of work. That's the sort of core value proposition, and the the kind of adding the deposits is really something which is motivated by security. But as a sort of a side effect of that, it will mean that the token holders can and will be sort of more involved in various ways.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to go into, if only briefly, because some people have come through saying, I'm not a technical person, but I do still want to get involved with the protocol. So this will open up a path for them to get going in a much simpler fashion. How do we know exactly how the delegation mechanism is going to work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So,
don't have mining expertise.
Yeah, of course. We're going to try and sort of abstract it to make it as simple as possible for people, but the high level essence of it was that you'll be able to see who the miners are, and the miners will have, of course, they'll be identified at minimum by an address, and you'll be able to say really as a token holder, I want to delegate a certain amount of the coins that are in my account to this particular miner. And so really be kind of be as simple as that. You'll sort of choose where you want them to go, and there might be sort of various factors on which you choose. I mean, maybe some miners will offer some kind of fraction of the sort of profits that they might be earning, or in return to being delegated to them. Is that's something that they may choose to do. Or you may just say, I think this miner is got a kind of solid reputation, or this other one seems to be doing some flaky stuff, and I don't really, not interested in delegating to them. So these are the kinds of decisions that you'll be able to make, and it will be quite clear how to do it. It's conceptually it's very simple. You're just sort of pointing a certain amount of your tokens towards a particular address. Mm-hmm. But just to be clear, it won't involve you having to lose custody of those tokens. I mean, so it's not like you're going to be trusting somebody else with those tokens. They could take them. This is delegation is it stays in your custody, but it's sort of delegated to another address.
Excellent. So 2 things. You mentioned that miners might be able to offer some kind of incentive for people to delegate to them. But on top of that, is there any kind of incentive mechanism built into pod natively that is going to allow people, similar to how proof of stake works, to increase their TIG holdings over time? Is that something that's part of it?
This is a great point. So it will be de facto. I think if the miners want to offer some sort of incentive, that it is kind of de facto the same. But it's actually quite important that I think that we don't sort of bake this in for some interesting reasons. So. You're right. Things like proof of stake protocols, it's sort of just part of the protocol that if you put your coin somewhere, or maybe you sort of delegate it in a certain way, like you'll get a certain return sort of almost automatically. In this case, it's really at the discretion of the miner. So the miner would offer a certain amount, if they're offering anything at all. And this is kind of a bilateral agreement between the miner and the delegator, and it's not sort of baked into the protocol, although in the way that it works in practical manners, it probably will look exactly the same to the delegator. And one of the interesting reasons why this is quite important is that we don't want. I mean, basically, the TIG is proof of work, If you have a sort of protocol which is designed at the sort of the kind of bottom lowest level to provide a return on a like a token, and that becomes a bit sort of bond like. So it's like a bond is a security under American law. And last thing you want in crypto, the sort of nightmare scenario is to have your kind of asset declared a security under American law. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's pretty frustrating because America is such a big market. So this is the thing that, and this is another kind of good thing about TIG is like we don't even have to have an opinion on that. If some miner wants to offer some other guy some sort of reward for delegating to him, I mean, we can't stop that. That's the nature of crypto, but it's not baked in as part of a fundamental part of the protocol, and that's the reason why. In fact, we should be grateful that it's not because of that reason. Otherwise, it's one more tick in the box for the SEC to think the asset behaves a little bit like something which they deem to be a security. So that's it's quite an interesting point of law, that one.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and certainly we have a lot of legal expertise native to TIG that would help us make that decision. It's not something that's being made arbitrarily. Um,
No, absolutely. We have yeah some of the top legal minds advising us. We're very very lucky on that front. So it's yeah, this is a sort of fascinating world that I myself am not by any means an expert on, but we do have sort of experts on hand. So it is interesting factoid.
yeah, excellent. So another thing that I want to touch upon that's been brought up, I don't think so recently, but various many times in the past within the Discord, is that there is reason to suspect that there are like botnet like entities active within benchmarking that can mine essentially for free or at least at a very low cost. And we did have some updates in the pipeline that were meant to address them. If you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so there have been some people kind of raising this concern, saying that it's happening. My understanding of what sort of the evidence that they had was that they heard some people were discussing in a forum. I'm not sure whether they would discuss criminal behavior in some kind of open forum, but they said that some people were using kind of AWS, and you could get away with like using some instances before they tried to charge you, and then they would realize that your card was expired or something like that. There was some kind of scam they were sort of running on kind of big cloud providers and exploiting the fact they would give you some compute, not really for free, but like before they took payment, and like by the time they tried to take payment, you sort of moved on to somewhere else. It was one of these kind of crazy things. So this is apparently something which is a sort of a problem which is confined to CPU mining. Well, so other protocols that have had CPU focused mining have experienced this before. We looked into it quite a lot. We kind of did some of our own investigations. What the investigations came up with was basically inconclusive. Like we can't know for sure whether this has been happening or not. I mean, we know that it's not happening to an extent, that everybody else is kind of completely squeezed out, because we do happen to know some of the bigger miners who are profitably mining TIG. So of course those guys are sort of honest people, and so the if there is this sort of nefarious activity going on, it's at a level which means that other people can still profitably mine. But of course, if it's going on at all, it's unacceptable. It's something that we really have to address. So this is one of the things which proof of deposit will help a lot, because in order to be a miner, you have to hold a significant deposit, and that's something that someone stealing compute will find it difficult to do, or they won't want to do it. And also, there are kind of sort of various tasks that you can introduce that CPUs in particular kind of find difficult to do. So it's much harder to mine with stolen compute. So both of these things are going to be coming very soon, and I guess it's just one of those things to put people's minds at rest who were concerned about this. We were concerned about it ourselves, and whether or not it has been happening, in fact, it really doesn't matter. It could happen, and therefore we have to sort of cut off the possibility for it to happen, and we will have done this very soon. So it's just another positive development.
Right, and the thinking that I was hearing from a lot of the people that I was speaking with is that this is something that sort of plagues every proof of work protocol that uses CPU primarily. So regardless of whether or not it is happening, it's something that, like you said, we want to nip in the bud pretty quickly. So
I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, yeah. So any CPU protocol you probably ever heard of, it ended up being. So it's like the question is, yeah. So even if it wasn't a big problem now in TIG, it would be as we got bigger. You see what I mean? So we have to deal with it, and we are dealing with it. We're kind of imminently. So yeah, we probably should have dealt with it. Well, proof of deposit did take a while to kind of finish the design and get the parameters right for various reasons. So yeah, better late than never. But we're gonna have that handled very soon.
Yeah, and the last thing on pod that I wanted to ask about, and we've spoken about it before, but I'm wondering if the thinking around it has changed at all. Um, we have, I think, in the past given a like ballpark percentage of the amount of tokens that people would need to hold in proportion to their computes, but do we have a solid number yet that we've settled on?
So the percentage will be one to match their compute. So say if a guy was had 3% of all of the compute, you would look to either hold or have delegated to him or her 3% of all the deposit which is held.
Mm-hmm.
What we haven't settled on yet is probably be a minimum deposit that they themselves have to hold, and the rest of it can sort of be topped up by delegation, if you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't decided on that number yet. So yeah, I would just say kind of watch this space, but that is a very good question because we would flag that. So a guy, a miner can't in 100% rely on delegated deposit. They would have to have a certain amount themselves, but that number is yet to be finalized.
Right. And sorry to fib, I said that was the last thing on it, but certainly something people are going to be wondering about is if there's any kind of lockup period associated with the deposit mechanic.
I would say yes, almost certainly for the delegated deposit. And one of the reasons, yeah, is because otherwise maybe people could just sort of pull the delegated deposit at a very short notice. But we haven't decided what that lockup period should be yet. I mean, there are sort of pros and cons. So, for example, as I said, if a miner starts misbehaving, one of the things we would like is if people who delegated to them to sort of redirect their deposit, and if the lockup period is too long, then that would work less well. It's like people would wish they could redelegate the deposit, they might not be able to. One thing they might be able to do is yeah, I mean, sort of pull the delegation for a particular miner and not redelegate it to a different miner within a certain amount of time. That's kind of one option. Because we want these sort of market forces to play out, but at the same time, we don't want miners to sort of be at the mercy of people, kind of just pulling their deposit at very short notice. So there's a balance that we have to strike there.
Yeah, makes sense. Another concern that I wanted to touch on, something that people have mentioned to me, is in terms of the personnel that are working on TIG. If you check the website, there are quite a few team members, but we really don't see much of them within the Discord. So if you could sort of spell out just very briefly what everyone is working on, as well as some of the recent hires that are being brought on board the project. What does that entire space look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, probably people have seen on Discord, I don't know, kind of Longvol doing quite a lot of typing. I don't think he's ever spoken on the community call. I mean, I think Vertigo has, and obviously you have. So I mean, it kind of we have a kind of a wider team. Sort of Phil is in charge of kind of legal, kind of general counsel, and we have Lee on the commercial side. Sort of obviously me and Gabby is doing business development. With respect to sort of hires, so we have been in a kind of growth phase. As many you will know, we raised some funding. I think we could have closed our funding round maybe it was sort of 5 or 6 weeks ago now, so it was quite a while ago. Before that, we had been self-funding, which we really wanted to, get to a phase where we were sort of launched and we got some kind of traction before we got external funding, because then you just get a much better deal from your kind of external funders. So we succeeded in doing that and getting we had a kind of very substantial amount of interest. But then there's still a bit of a lag period between that and bringing on board new staff. I mean, of course, we have to advertise for them. We have to do kind of rounds of interviews, and then also when you find the right person, often they'll have another job, so they have to sort of give notice at their other job before they can, come here. So I'm happy to say that we pretty much completed that process at the moment, and the people are filing in. So we're not going to be. So we are going to have a kind of considerable amount. I guess we sort of doubled the size of our team, I think, at least. Some very highly qualified individuals. So for example, we have a kind of a research, two new researchers actually, one theoretical physicist, one who's sort of half on kind of research, really in financial mathematics and on the development side. We have another guy who's a sort of, more just a senior researcher who has a PhD in cosmology from Cambridge University. Another guy's just completed his PhD in computational neuroscience from Cambridge University. We have two guys who were interns, in fact, over the summer, but they're staying on to do sort of working kind of 2 days a week, sort of ongoing. Sort of Jack and Myron, who are working mainly on sort of AI. Actually, Jack's a theoretical physicist, but he's interested in AI. And then we have two more developers coming on to help Ying out mostly. So this is quite a few people, and they're kind of just sort of all either here or just about to join us. So things are going to get a lot more busy, and hopefully we're going to have more bandwidth for communication as well, because this is one of the things which tends to get neglected sometimes when you're doing so much stuff behind under the hood is keeping the sort of community updated. So we are going to do have a lot more of a focus on that going forward, I'm pleased to say.
Yeah, that is reassuring. And one thing you didn't mention that I should probably throw out there for the people in the chat, some of whom have asked about this, is that we do have a dedicated person coming on board for the purposes of compiling documentation. The protocol has evolved considerably since its inception and since it's gone live. And what that means is that there are a number of community guides out there that have been so lovingly produced by various different people who have been very hands-on with the project so far. But those guides need to be updated in a concise and timely manner. So in the future, I don't have a date for you or anything like that, but you will see that the documentation that is needed for people to who are either new or who have sort of lost their footing with the more technical aspects of TIG, that'll be in place very soon for the purposes of streamlining, getting involved, and sort of figuring out how to benchmark. So that is something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been hearing a lot about that too, and it is. I mean, it is very important. We appreciate people bearing with us and understanding that we were a kind of a very kind of small and not very well funded operation up until about 6 weeks ago, and then we were still just a small but well funded operation, and now we're just going to be a large and well funded operation. So, or medium sized, you might say, but yeah, the documentation is definitely one of the things which will benefit from that.
Certainly. Alrighty, now's a good time to go ahead and do the raffle. I've got all the names typed up here. Thank you everyone for joining. One more thing, as I'm doing that, if you guys have any additional questions that have popped into your mind over the course of the call, if you were to drop them in the general voice chat so they can be addressed in a timely manner, that would be fantastic. Alrighty, gonna go ahead with the first winner here. All right, our first winner is Brava Bra. I'm not going to go ahead and say your entire name because that would take a while, but congratulations. If you could please DM me, we'll go ahead and get the process started when it comes to getting you your rewards. All right, we'll do one more. It's Hetman. Hetman, I think you've won before. I can't really recall. I know you've been on pretty much every community call, so thank you for your unyielding attendance. It seems that if it has not played out in your favor before, it finally has. Alrighty, there's that done. Alex is asking, when's the new challenge going to come online? We've teased it a number of times already, John. Has there been any progress made there?
So the new one, the next one that's coming is hypergraph partitioning. We are, yeah, this is a great question. So we are, it's basically ready from our point of view. We have a guy who just, this is Jack actually, who was the one of our interns who's just gone back to Imperial College where he's studying physics, and he's currently interacting with the guy who suggested it. So we want to get it just sort of given the kind of rubber stamp by him. So yeah, that's kind of what's been holding up. So the beginning of term again at Imperial College in London. So again, I would say very soon. Yeah, we want it to come on board as soon as possible, and it is ready. We just want to double check that it was, okay from the point of view of the guy who originally suggested it, who is a turns out quite busy professor, but we are sort of kind of in dialogue with him at the moment.
Excellent. Alrighty, that's all I had on the docket for today. John, I don't know if you have any closing comments or any additional things you want to mention before we all head off. The same is open to anyone else who wants to drop a question and participate. We're happy to answer anything that might be on your mind. Although a lot of the community call so far has been basically me writing down questions that people have fielded either in my DMs or publicly in the Discord over the past few weeks while we have not been having community calls. So this one's kind of playing catch up when it comes to bringing everyone up to speed on what's been going on. But yeah, I'll defer to you, John.
No, I think that you've covered it quite well. We just wanted to, bring people up to speed on what's going on. As I said, it's a sort of a growth phase, so it's a bit stressful, but you have to grow, otherwise you can't be. And things like recruitment and so on take a lot of time to find the right people. But it's worth it. It's sort of an investment in the future. So I would say, that's kind of a big part of what we've been doing over the last 3 weeks. And we've identified these sort of talented individuals who are going to join us on our mission. And it's going to be well worthwhile. So, we also kind of aspire to keep people more up to date. It was a bit unfortunate that this latest meeting at Dubai, as I said, is one that we, for some curious reason, couldn't share with everybody. And that's very rare. I've never been to an event like that before. So I don't expect that to be the norm. And we're going to share with people, what we're doing and what we're up to, because I know that people do like to hear about that, to be reassured that there are things happening in the background.
Yes, a top secret meeting of the minds. Alrighty, well,
Yeah.
Onwards and upwards. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Attendance is stellar, as per usual. So
Yep.
Thank you all for showing up. Apologies again about the brevity of the call and my energy levels. I'm quite sick at the moment, but I'll be in tip-top shape for the next one. So thank you all.
Yeah, get well soon.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Speak next time.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.